I want to tell you something that can change the way you see the world. It will reconcile science and religion. It will explain how everything came into being, that you have a purpose, a greater meaning for your life. And I'm also going to give you some ideas on how you can achieve these greater purposes for your life. So this one gets as deep as it gets. It's on a theory of everything. So what do scientists currently believe? Well, they're not sure. But some physicists theorize that before the Big Bang, there was a singularity, a condensed energy. And then through the Big Bang, this exploded and separated. And then from that time, everything interacted, all these elements interacted with each other until you have everything that you see here in this world today. What do, say, Christians believe? They believe that in the beginning there was a single entity called God. God created everything that you see today. Pretty much the same story, just said in different ways. I'm going to tell you a theory of everything that I've created. Physicists haven't really put exactly what I just said into a formula. Here it is. An element interacts in a system and creates. I'll give you an example. Let's go with the human body. So if you get to a deep level, there's only subatomic particles. So a subatomic particle interacts in a system and creates an atom. An atom interacts in a system and creates a chemical element. A chemical element interacts in a system, creates a molecule. Molecule interacts in a system, creates a macromolecule, which goes on to create a cell, blah, 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 until you have everything that is the human body. Now, everything since time began has been created by this one formula. Even time itself. Like time, in its essence, is only interactions between elements. How could you even perceive what time is if there's no interaction between elements? If there's no hand on the clock moving, if there's no sun rising, sun setting, if even your thoughts weren't interacting in order to perceive time or to notice changes, how would you even perceive it? You could not. This is what time is. Time is purely witnessing the interaction between the elements. That's how we measure time. Physical laws as well. Physical laws have been created by the interaction between the elements. Gravity. Gravity itself is created through the elements interacting with each other that create gravity. So everything since time began, including time itself, has been created by this formula. But there's also what happened before time. This is the eternal. This is what scientists would say before the Big Bang. It's timeless. Time hadn't been created yet. And this is where we all come from. Now, Christians would say that this part of ourselves that comes from this eternal world is our soul. What else does this theory say? It shows that we're all one. We all come from the one source. Sure, we're our own individual elements. We've all been born from this one source. And therefore, we're all connected. Which brings me to some more amazing stuff on this. You know, in our hand right now, there's cells, and to them it may seem like a world of chaos if they could perceive things, because they're going about, they're fighting rival cells, they're ingesting things, they're reproducing. Very similar lives to us as humans in a more basic form, right? Now what they don't realize is that they're creating a greater purpose, a greater order, because while they're like fighting and doing all this chaotic stuff, they're actually creating our hands. And they're protecting us from harmful infections. So if they could perceive it from our level of seeing things, they would realize this greater purpose that they hold. Fortunately, we are the cells are us. We're all this interconnected system. And even though the cells may not be able to see the order they're creating, we can at our higher vantage point. Now, what makes you think that your life is not exactly the same? That as you go about life and all your struggles, and it may seem like chaos, that there's not a higher level that you're connected to that sees the outcomes of all of your struggles, that sees the order to things. Now, all these different levels we're connected to. And that's why Christians, for example, might believe that you can pray to God. You can connect with the higher level. I'll give you an example. The cells we can communicate with the cells communicate with us. If we touch a hot stove, the cells in my hand will send me a pain signal saying, get your hand off this hot stove. It's a basic way of communication. And that's what we're trying to achieve through prayer, is communicate to those other levels of ourselves, because we're all connected and we're all one. So we know now that everything since time began has been created by a simple formula, and everything before that is eternal. Now, how can we use this in our lives? How can we self-actualize from this? Well, I've created 8 principles, which I call the perfect mindset, which is drawn from this theory, and you can use it to do exactly like that, to live the life of your dreams. Now, these principles you don't have to follow in any particular order. It's just only when you use them in conjunction with each other that they have their prime effect. So the first principle is uncover and hold your primary desires. Now, let's think about your desires for a second. One might be, I want to have a mansion. But it's deeper than that. Let's get deeper. Why do you want to have a mansion for? And your answer might be something like, well, I want to feel like I've made it. Or I want to impress other people. Or I want to enjoy my lifestyle. Right? Deeper still. Let's get deeper still. Why do you want those things? Well, what do I want to impress other people? You might come to the point where it's like, well, I want other people to love me. What do you want to enjoy your life? Well, I want to love my life. Or what do you want to feel like you want to make it? Well, I want to love myself. Ultimately, it all comes back to a primary. In this case, it's love. This is what you're really seeking when you're going after a mansion, right? This is the primary desire. This is the underlying desire. Now, there's a difference between primary and secondary desires. The secondary desires are created through time. You need time to be able to achieve them, such as getting a mansion, finding the partner of your dreams, having an amazing career. It takes time to achieve these things. They're secondary goals. What underlies them is the primary. Now, the primary is the eternal realm. You do not need time to be able to achieve your goals in the primary. You just have to uncover them. That's why it's called uncover your primary desires. So you figure out what your primary desires are, and you uncover that now in this moment. And then once you're holding these desires, you can ask yourself, do I still want these secondary desires? Do I still want a mansion now that I already have all the love I need? If yes, then go towards it. Go towards your secondary desires. That's what I call a true desire then. A true desire is when you have your primary desire and you still wish for it. Now, it doesn't mean it's like completely the right desire, because as humans, we're fallible. We may not always see and perceive all the greatest levels and we're not at the highest vantage point is what I'm saying. Okay, we're just perceiving things from our levels. We've got what's called evolutionary design parameters at work, which is basically we have enough perception to be able to see and perceive what we need to in order to achieve our purpose in this world. But it doesn't mean we can see the perceptions of everything. That might be a higher level. Just like the hand cannot see the cells that they're creating, we can. We're at that higher level. So basically, there is the greater good for us. There is the true perfection. We may not be able to see it. We can only get pointers. And these are pointers. Okay, we've got to be still open to true perfection happening. So basically, uncover your primary desires is the first step. Second step is clear vision. Now start within. It's always good to start within. Clear vision is seeing the world as clearly as possible. Now, like I said, we've got evolutionary design parameters at work that are inhibiting us. But you still have to look past those to see as clearly as what you possibly can. Right? And one way of seeing yourself clearly is to know your true desires. And then to know the limiting beliefs that's holding you back from achieving those true desires. Right? So you've got all those figured out. Then you can see the world a little bit more clearly. Because now you understand yourself. You can see things clearly. You start to see the world more clearly. Now, as I said, you've got evolutionary design parameters. You don't know all. And that's part of clear vision as well. Knowing what you don't know. You don't always know what other people are thinking. You might have to ask them in order to find out. You don't know the answers to everything at any one point in time. So you have to know this as well. That's part of having clear vision, There's a humbleness to it. Once you reach the ultimate state of clear vision that I've come across anyway, it's very similar to what the Buddhists call the clear light. Everything just becomes clear. It's almost like seeing the Matrix, and you have this overwhelming feeling of bliss and contentment because you see everything, and you see how it all leads to order, and you see that it feels like nothing can harm you almost because you're on that level of perceiving things. The next step is be open to perfection. Now, as I was saying, perfection may not be your version of perfection. Now, you go towards your true desires, but what is true perfection? True perfection is, well, we're all one system, right? And there's many different levels. The greater good is ultimately what is good for the entire system as a whole. That is the greater good. So our perfection is what's good for the greater good, for everything. You know, from the cells to us to all the different levels. Now, Christians would call this God's will, assuming that God is this greater, higher part of us all who can, you know, see from the greater vantage point and actually is the entirety. Then God's will is our true perfection. So we're going to be open to that. But what do we do from this level? Obviously, all we do is go towards our true desires. We go towards our true desires, we're open to them basically. So how can you get things if you're not open to them? It's very hard. So be open to perfection. Next step is you're ready now. Too many times in our lives we put things off for the future. We say, look, once I achieve this physique, then I'll go swimming, you know, without my shirt on. Or once I become rich and successful, then I'll start giving and, you know, being a kind person. It's like, no. Your primary desires, like I said, they're not dependent on time. You can have them right now. There's nothing stopping you from having them this very second. Your secondary desires you can work towards right now as well. Now, it doesn't mean you'll have your secondary desires, but you can move towards them. So you're ready now to do this. And the next step is surrender to the chaos with faith. So as you move towards your true desires, it may seem like it's chaotic. You don't know what the future holds, right? You don't know whether you're going to succeed or not. However, you must be going bravely towards it, surrendering to what seems like chaos with faith, that everything's going to work out, that true perfection is going to occur. And the greater good does occur. The greater good always occurs. It's up to us whether we go towards the greater good and help move towards the greater good, or whether we're we're the coconut in the stream, so to speak, going along with the water, or we're the rocks that kind of hold it up a little bit. Either way, it's going to get there. We're not going to stop it. The next step is find the flow state. Now, there's a flow of life already happening. There's a flow within yourself, there's a flow outside of yourself. What you wish to do, and you have the power to do this, is change the flow within yourself so that you're in line with your true desires and you're moving towards them. Right? And then once you have this flow inside yourself, look at the outside world. Is it all moving towards your true desire? So when the elements are all in line with your true desires, just get in the flow state. You know, you might have experienced this before with sport. It's like everything's all happens so easily, it seems. All the flow of the elements around you, the power is with you. You have the greater power to like maneuver everything, to shoot as many baskets as possible. It's a great state of being. It's where you want to be. Now, not always is this flow leading towards your true desires, in which case you need to question, what do you need to change? Or what do you need to do? Do you need to learn more? Do you need to grow more as a person? Do you just need to be patient? Remember, while you're always ready, you're ready now to have your primary desires. You can have them entire life through. The secondary desires, you're ready to move towards them, but you do not have them your entire life through. They come at certain stages of your life. There is another option. Sometimes you are ready now for your secondary desires. They are your true desires, and you have the strength of the elements with you in order to be able to get these. If that's the case, then you can change the flow to go towards your true desires. You gotta be careful when you do this though. Remember, there is a flow of things already happening. And ultimately, everything always leads to the greater good. So you want to be careful when you change the flow. But if it's your true desire and you have clear vision, change it. Change it and get in the flow towards your true desires. The next principle is uncover and create perfection. So what do I mean by that? Every moment we have the opportunity for perfection. Like I said, the primary desires, we've got the ability to uncover perfection that's already there. It already exists in every moment. It could be watching a sunset. It could just be looking at the beauty and sacredness of nature. There's a perfection there which we can tap into and embrace. Eckhart Tolle would say, you just find it in the present moment. It could be as simple as having a glass of water. You pick up the water, you taste it, you really savor the moment, you feel all the contentment that comes with it, you put the glass back down. It can be as simple as that. You don't have to be floating on a cloud to feel perfection. You can feel it in every single moment. Then there's also the secondary part of it, which is creating perfection. This is like a beautiful canvas for us. We can create whatever we want every single moment, whether it's within yourself, whether it's in a social setting. You can create a beautiful moment all together. This is the fun part. Uncover and create perfection. Every single moment has those seeds of perfection. You just have to embrace them and create it. And I know that some people don't believe that perfection is possible. Believe me, you just have to change your mindset. You have to change the way you see things. For example, right now we're flying on a little blue planet through the universe. The odds of us even being born is like 1 trillion, 100 trillion, whatever the amount is, in infinite trillion to 1, that we're even existing here. And we get to see all this beautiful nature and all these beautiful things. Like, that is a total blessing. Perfection is possible. The fact that you're alive shows that perfection is possible. So it can happen. So what do you do next? See the order and continue. This is the last principle, which is basically you'll realize how everything has led to this moment. That really all those struggles weren't struggles after all, that this was actually all perfection. You see this order, you see everything fits, and you don't rest on your laurels. You continue. You continue with all these principles, the perfect mindset, and you continue on. And that is my theory of everything, and that is the principles which I derive from it to self-actualize. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a very quick overview. It gets a lot deeper than this. If you've got any questions, just let me know. Also, if you've enjoyed the philosophical theories in this video, you'll absolutely love my book. It's got all of these theories, but they're expanded upon, and it's got a whole bunch of new philosophical theories you've never heard of before that would absolutely change your life. It's called The Synchronicity of Ulysses, and you can find it on Amazon.